Okay, let's talk materials for our Beary Sweet cone. You will need our 3.5, absolute must. You will need some yarn. So we will need white for our first scoop. You will need some pink for our second scoop. You're gonna need, if you're following my color scheme, you'll need a mint for like the third scoop. You will need some brown for the cone. I used quilting pins. As I always say, these are definitely optional, but it's gonna help us to not only attach the parts of our bear, so the muzzle and the ears, but it's actually gonna help us to stack our scoops to hold them in place while we sew. So they're optional, but I always highly recommend when we're attaching body parts. You will need a yarn needle to actually attach the body parts. And we will need some polyfill. Let me get an example here. So if you don't know what polyfill looks like, this is what it looks like. It's really, really soft and fluffy. You need obviously more than this because we will need to stuff. This is all one piece. You will need to stuff this. You will need to stuff the second head and the third head. So you will need quite a bit of polyfill. And we will need some plastic safety eyes. So I actually think I used all of my size 8 in that pack. You will need a size 8 plastic safety eye. These are the plastic safety eyes with the plastic backing. So you will need 4 of those if you are doing 2 bears. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 for each bear. And I forgot we do need some black yarn as well, because on the muzzle we need to embroider the muzzle with the black yarn. You don't need a whole lot. This is scrap yarn, but you do need that black. And I think that is it. So let us go. Alrighty. So in our last video, let me cut this off. In our last video, we made the ice cream cone. And one of the alterations to the ice cream cone was to make it a keychain, right? That's super cute, super sellable. But the other alteration I was telling you all about is we could make this, we can stack our cones, our scoops, and make it like a double scoop or a triple scoop ice cream cone. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. Let's go ahead and get started with making an actual ice cream scoop without the cone, because if you remember last video, this was connected. This is all one piece. It was a no-sew ice cream cone. If you haven't checked that video out, go ahead and check it out, because you will need this base in order to move forward with this project anyways. But for this project, we will not only need this, but we'll need some detached scoops. And so let me show you how to make those scoops. I am going to make mine in pink because I want the middle scoop to be a pink. So what we're going to do is we are going to start with a magic circle. And if you are brand new and you're just finding my channel, I do have tutorials on how to do a magic circle. If you just go ahead and I'll probably drop the link at the bottom so that you can see it. But we're doing a magic circle, and in our magic circle we are doing 6 single crochets. So I did 1, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We need to close this hole, place our stitch marker. Row number 2 is going to be an increase all the way around, and I do crochet over my tails. If you watched my channel before, you kind of know that already, but we are doing increases all the way around, meaning we are doing 2 single crochets in each stitch. For my veterans out there, you know this all too well, but for my beginners, it just means 2 single crochets in each stitch. So we're going to do this all the way around. You should end up with 12 single crochets at the end, and I'll show you what to do afterwards. Alrighty, row number 3 is 1 single crochet and then an increase, 1 single crochet and then an increase, which again is those 2 single crochets in one stitch, 1 single crochet and then an increase in that next stitch, and we are doing that all the way around. All right, and that is my row number 3. That's what we're looking like so far. And just as a point of reference, so you can kind of visualize what we're doing, when we did the ice cream cone, we started from the tip and we worked our way up. So we started right here and we worked our way up to the top. For the ice cream cone, we're actually starting at the top and working our way down. Kind of the same concept, but it's a little bit different. So right now we are at, what was that, row number 3. So right now we are about right here in this ice cream cone, but this is what it's going to look like when we're done. So just as a point of reference. Okay, so for row number 4, we are doing 4 single crochets. Nope, I'm sorry. Row number 4, 2 single crochets and then an increase. So 1, 2, and then an increase. 2 single crochets and then an increase all the way around, and I'll meet you back here. Row number 5 is going to be 3 single crochets and then an increase. 1, 2, 3, and then an increase. And we're doing that all the way around. Alrighty, rows 6, 7, and 8, we are doing 1 single crochet in each stitch. So for 3 rows, go ahead and do 1 single crochet in each stitch, and you should have 30 at the end of each one of these rows. So go ahead and do that and then meet me back here. Row number 9 is going to be 3 single crochets and then a decrease. 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease. And we're doing that all the way around. Okay, so this is what we're looking like after 9 rows. And so again, as a point of reference, we've just done the crown of our scoop right now. So we're about right here. What we are going to do now is the fluff, the bottom of our ice cream scoop, which is this part right here. In order to do that, this next row, row number 10, we are working in front loop only. What that means is when you look at a stitch, there is a front loop, which is this, and there is a back loop, which in that same stitch is that, okay? The entire stitch is right here. We want to go front loop only for row number 10. So front loop only. And we are doing 4 single crochets in 1 stitch, slip stitch in the next stitch. So what that looks like is in that front loop, we are doing 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 3, and 4, and then we're going into our next stitch, front loop only, and we are doing a slip stitch. I'll show you one more time. Next stitch, front loop only, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It will get crowded, and that's by design. Next stitch, front loop only, slip stitch. And so this is what we're looking like. It should be frilly because we want it to wave. We want it to wave like this. Okay, so it will get crowded, and that's again on purpose. So go ahead and do your front loops only. And it's very important you do front loops only because in row number 11, we are working in the back loop. So if you don't leave your back loops, you don't have anything to work in. So make sure you do front loops only, and I'll meet you back here for row number 11. After row number 10, this is what I'm looking like. The inside looks something like this, and you can see there's like a ring around the inside, and those are our back loops. That's what we're going to crochet into for row number 11. So again, as a point of reference, we just did this right here, which is the bottom of our cone, or our scoop, sorry. And now we're going to start transitioning into the inside. Okay, so for row number 11, we are looking for those back loops, and we are doing 1 single crochet in each stitch. So what I like to do is just pull this kind of frill forward, and you can see the back loops show up really nicely. So this is a back loop, that's a back loop, this is a back loop, that's a back loop. You want to go into those, and so I'll show you a couple. Let me find my first one here. So I'm going to go in, back loop, and just do a single crochet into the back loop, single crochet, and we're just doing that all the way around. Back loops. And if you went into your front loops in row number 10, this should be a piece of cake. Like, your back loops should be pretty darn visible. So go ahead and do this, and I will meet you back here so we can do row number 12 together. All right, so after row number 11, excuse me, this is what we're looking like. So we have our frill, is what I'm calling it, and we have an additional row in that back loop only. At the end of row number 11, which is that back loop only that we just did, you should have 24 stitches. So if you just want to kind of double check that you did it correctly according to the pattern, you should have 24. All right, so moving on, row number 12, we are going to do 2 single crochets and then a decrease, and this should be a piece of cake for us. So we're going to find that first crochet in the last row, and we're going to start there. So 1, 2, and we are doing a decrease, and we're just going to do that all the way around. So let me show you one more time. 1, 2, and then a decrease all the way around. Row number 13. Row number 13 is going to be 1 single crochet and then a decrease. 1 single crochet and then a decrease, and we're doing that all the way around. Okay, so now what we want to do is add some eyes to this guy, because this is going to be an amigurumi scoop. So I'm going to grab my size 8, and this is my container. My size 8 lives right here. So get my size 8, and I'm going to place my eyes between rows 4 and 5 in stitches 1 and 6. And I kind of already marked them. You can kind of see it right here, but I'll show you how to get there. So we're looking at our magic circle. That's going to count as row number 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So between rows 4 and 5, we will place our first eye. Our second eye is going to be in stitch number 6, which means I am looking at the stitch that this first eye is in. I'm counting as stitch number 1. I'm counting to stitch number 6 and placing my second eye. So that's 1 that our first eye is in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then about right here, about 6. We're going to put that in. And this is what it looks like. What I'm going to do now off camera is pop the backs in for my eyes. I will stuff this guy and then meet you back here so we can do next steps. Alright, so this is what we're looking like. And we do have a hole in the bottom. So we are going to close this hole by threading our yarn needle. And we will go into every other stitch to pull this thing closed. And let me show you what I mean. So we're going into every other stitch. We're going into this stitch, out through this stitch, in this stitch, out this stitch, and we're doing that all the way around until we get to the beginning. And once we get to the beginning, you can just go ahead and pull it close. And it pulls close like magic. And make sure your stuffing doesn't come out. Just like that. Now, usually I do another round of closure, but this is going to be stacked, so I'm really not concerned about it. So I'll just leave it alone and just go ahead and knot it. And this is what we're looking like so far. And it looks just a little bit crazy, but that's okay because we now need to put a face on him. And I did do one off camera, so this is going to be the top scoop of our 3 scoops, and this is a chocolate chip mint bear. So we're gonna go from this to a bear. And I think I want 1 ear on this one because we are going to stack them like this. So we only need, or like that, doesn't matter, on one side. So we only need 1 ear. So let me show you how to do that. Let me go ahead and put my eyeballs away. And for the ear, I need the same color I was using, which is this pink. And the ears are actually really, really simple. We are gonna start with our magic circle. And again, if you need help with that, go ahead and check out some of my earlier videos. We are doing a 6 single crochets inside that magic circle. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. Row number 2 is going to be a row of increases. And we should have 12 stitches after row number 2. So it's 2 single crochets in each stitch. And row number 3, our final row, is going to be just 1 single crochet in each stitch. Okay, in terms of rows, our ear is done. But the final thing we need to do, if yours look a little bit like mine, you want to push this inside out. And we want to pinch our ear. I pinch mine such that where my stitch marker is on one end, just like that. And we are single crocheting across the top, making sure to pick up a stitch on each side. So pull those up and then do a single crochet. So I'm pulling up a stitch on this side, pulling up a stitch on the other side, which will be right here. And we are doing a single crochet to stitch them both together. And we're doing that all the way down so that our ear is closed. We can go ahead and cut this, leaving a long tail, because we will use that tail to sew our ear to our head. And that's what it looks like. So for me, for the middle stack, I only need 1 ear. Because again, we're putting the ear on either side, doesn't matter whichever way you want to go. And then we are putting the other bear on top, okay? For this bear, you obviously will need 2 ears. So when you're making the top tier bear, make sure you make 2 ears in the same color as the color you're using for the bear, or whatever color you want the ears to be, okay? So I'm gonna put this aside, and the last thing we need to do for our bear is the muzzle. And so I'm going to get my pink yarn again. And if we thought the ears were easy, the muzzle is like ridiculous. We are actually repeating rows 1 and 2 from the ears, which is that magic circle, 6 single crochets, and then a row of increases. So I won't show you that because we literally just did it, but I will go ahead and do mine off camera, and I'll come back to show you how to do the nose, how to embroider the nose into the muzzle. Okay, so I've finished row number 2. And what I want to do is connect my first stitch to my last stitch with a slip stitch, and that just makes sure the circle is it looks a little bit more complete. I am going to cut my yarn, fasten off, leave a long tail for sewing. And this is what we should be looking like. So the last thing we need to do for our nose is actually to grab some black yarn, which I have right in front of me. We are going to thread our yarn needle with that black yarn, and make sure you cut a decent amount. You don't need like an obsessive, aggressive, or excessive, that's the word I'm looking for. You don't need an excessive amount of yarn, but you do need a pretty decent tail. So this is how I cut mine. So what we want to do is we want to take our yarn needle, come in through the back, and go in through your magic circle. Can you see that? Come up through your magic circle. Leave a decent amount in the back so that you can grip when we're done, so you can tie that knot. We're going to look for the 3 most center stitches at the top of this between rows 1 and 2. So for me, that's that one, and that one. I'm going to go into the rightmost one. Come back up through my magic circle. Being careful not to disrupt that piece of yarn that's already there. Make sure our back is all straight. We are going into the next stitch. Coming back up through the center. Making sure our back is nice and straight. And we're going into that 3rd stitch, which for me is right there. I'm going to go in the back. I'm crossing over and I'm going into the 1st stitch. So I'm coming up through the 1st stitch. Making sure our back is nice and straight. Going into the magic circle. Coming up in that 2nd stitch. Making sure our back is straight. Going in through the magic circle. Same thing with the last one. Coming up in the back of the last one. And then going in through our magic circle. Now what we want to do is come up through our first one, our 1st stitch, just like that. And we are going to cross over to our last stitch. And we will repeat that one more time. Come up in that 1st stitch. Making sure our back is nice and straight. And then going back into that last one. And what that should do is should cover any of that, for me, pink coming through our nose. Now what we want to do is come up in the stitch directly underneath, if you can, our magic circle. If you need to make your own spot, that's totally fine. I do that a lot of times. You see, like, that's not actually a stitch right there. I just kind of made my own way just so that it was center. And I'm going into the magic circle. Just so it has like that little, you know how bears have that little the mouth, I guess, at the bottom. And so I said leave a decent amount when we did that, when we went into our magic circle the first time, because we're going to use this to tie off our yarn. We don't need this black anymore. So if your tail was super long like mine was, you can just cut it off and then we can tie this. So I'm going to tie mine and then show you what we're going to do next. All right. So I went ahead and tied mine, and I cut my tails fairly short because, again, we won't need this anymore, and it's just going to get in the way if it's too big. So I am pulling out my quilting pins because this will help us to pin the nose to the head of our bear. And what I'm going to do is just put a pin through the magic circle and place this so that, let's see, that actually might be good. Place it such that the nose is in between the eyes. I always think it's so crazy. Like, let me mark where I put that. How it goes from looking like a little alien blob to looking like a freaking bear. Like, that is crazy to me. Okay, so this is what we're looking like. Just kind of play around with the placement until you're satisfied. But I put mine directly in between the eyes, just like that. And I place a couple of pins in the nose because what tends to happen, it's a bad habit of mine of not pinning, and my nose kind of travels around and it ends up being crooked. So learn to just place a couple of pins so that it stays in place as I'm sewing around. So what we want to do now, remember I told you to keep that long tail, keep the long tail from the muzzle, because we are going to thread our yarn needle and attach our muzzle to the head, or to the scoop I should say. And the way we're going to do that, if you're one of my veteran crocheters and you know how to attach your body parts, you can honestly just kind of fast forward through this part. But for those of you who are kind of new to the game and attaching body parts, what we're going to do is pull up a stitch in the head, pull up a stitch in the body. And the way I do mine, there's a lot of different ways that crochet artists do this, but I'll show you the method that I use. So I'm going into the body, I'm going in one stitch, coming out another stitch, just like that. I then will go into my muzzle, just like that. I'm going back into my muzzle, like that. And I'm just gonna rinse and repeat. So go into the head, come out the head, making sure you pull as you go, going into the muzzle, going out of the muzzle, and then going back into the head and out the head. So I just do this all the way around until I get to my starting place, which was right here, and then I knot and move on. And that is how I attach my body parts. So let me go ahead and attach the rest of this muzzle and I'll meet you back. All right, and this is what I'm looking like so far. The next thing we need to do is just to attach our ear. And the way I place my ear is I put a pin on either side and then pin it until I'm satisfied with the placement. So this is what this one's looking like. And let's see. We're putting this guy on top. I am putting this one on the right hand side, so I think that's a pretty good placement. So for me, if you're following exactly what I'm doing, I'm putting my ear between between like rows 2 and 3 ish. I'm starting the top of the ear, and the bottom of the ear is going to come close to the bottom of like maybe a row or 2 from the bottom. So that's what I'm looking like. Let me just kind of give you a close-up so if you want to look at the rows. And in terms of like how far back from the nose, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 stitches from the nose to the left. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm using the same method that I used to attach the muzzle to attach the ear. So go in through the head, come out through the head, go into the ear, out the ear, and then rinse and repeat. So let me go ahead and attach this and I'll meet you back. All right, and so this is what my bear is looking like. And again, I don't need a second ear because this guy is going to go on top just like that. If you're working on the top bear, you do need the 2 ears. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. All right, I think we have all of our pieces. We have our cone, and again, I said it in the beginning of the video, but I'll say it again. This is a part 2, so go ahead and check out part 1 so you can make the complete cone. This is one piece. It's no sew, very, very simple ice cream cone. And what we are doing right now is we are stacking to make this a very sweet ice cream cone. Look, that's what we're gonna look like. All right, so to stack these guys, to actually attach them, what you want to do is, actually I still have some tails here. Let me take care of my tails and I'll be back. Okay, so what I like to do is keep my quilting pins handy. And I'm gonna get the bigger of my pins because I want to attach my bear down where I think it's going to be, so that, kind of like what I was saying with the muzzle, like so that I know exactly where I want it, and I know as I'm sewing it won't move too much. It's gonna move a little bit, like that's just the reality of it, but it won't move so much. What I also like to do is what you're catching me do right now, is I like to put everything together first before I start sewing, so I can kind of get an idea of placement, because it's easier to take pins out and replace than it is to kind of frog your stitching. And I speak from experience most of the time, including right now, where like you go ahead and you don't pin stuff and you just start sewing away and it doesn't come out the way you want it, and it's very frustrating. So I'm just trying to save you from that trouble. So I don't want my ice cream cones to be straight. I want them to be kind of like whimsical, I guess is the right way. So I think I'm good with that. And so what I do, if you're just kind of following what I do, I just kind of get a mental picture of like where everything is. And then I'm going to take the top one off, and I will start sewing this one right here. And once I'm done sewing this one, I'll repin the top one based on what I remember the position was, and then start sewing that one also. If that works for you, great. If that's not the method you use, or you're not comfortable with it, that's totally fine. That's just what I do. I'm just trying to show you what I do. So what we want to do is kind of the same thing we did with attaching the muzzle and the ear. I am using one of the tails from, I don't know what it was from, if it was the muzzle, the ear, or what have you, but I want to go ahead and go into, let's start with the head of our bear, because it's in the center. If you can see, like my tail is in the center. I just want to bring it to the edge. Just like that. It doesn't have to look fancy, like it looks kind of crazy right there, but that's okay. It's going to be hidden, so we're good. So what I want to do is I am pushing this scoop down a little bit. The pins are holding it, but I'm also kind of gripping it with my fingers too, so that it doesn't move as I'm sewing. And what I want to do is pull up a stitch in that white scoop, and I am pulling up a stitch right where in our scoop, right where rows 10 and 11 are. You kind of see that? Like right where rows 10 and 11 are, I'm pulling up a stitch there as well. My pin is in the way. Just like that. I'm coming back into my scoop, my white scoop, pulling up a stitch. And you can see right now it's not pulled tight, but I'll show you how to pull that in a second too. I'm coming up between rows 10 and 11, and I'm just pulling up a stitch like that. And so when you get a couple stitches in, you just want to pull this ever so gently, and it tightens up your stitches to where you can't see them. See that? So you want to do that all the way around, just making sure you hold it, because both these things are stuff that's going to be a little bit on the hard side, to kind of align them and make sure they stay aligned without you holding them. So go ahead and do that all the way around. I'll meet you back when I'm done with mine. All right, so I am back to where I started. I can go ahead and take my pins out. And what I am going to do is just put my needle with that tail. I didn't fasten off, I didn't knot or anything just yet, because I'm going to do this at the top. For me, I just like to do that a little bit better. And I'll just knot at the top and then hide this in my work. It's just a little bit easier. Like, it just makes my life easier. Just like this. Hide it a couple of times, and that just makes sure your tail gets kind of lost in the polyfill. So if anything were to come undone, it'll be a little bit harder for it to unravel. All right, so this is what we're looking like so far. I dig it. I dig it. And so what I was telling you before is I want to repin our chocolate chip mint at the top, based on what I was thinking before. I'm going to go a little bit further back. and pin this side to make sure it still works, and I think it does. And so I'm just going to repeat the process I did for this bear. Hold it and then just sew around so that it's attached. And yeah, I'll meet you back here once I do that. All right, and this is what we are looking like. Super, super cute. Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And you'll notice that I added some sprinkles to the bottom cone just to kind of tie in the colors a little bit. If you've never added sprinkles before, literally all I did was I threaded my yarn needle one color at a time. I went in and then just made one stitch. So pulled up the yarn in one stitch, came out one stitch, went into another stitch, so the sprinkles are one stitch apart. Hopefully that makes sense. And I just did that for 3 different colors, for the pink, the yellow, and the mint looking color. If you want the chocolate chip mint, I did the same thing here, just with brown yarn and like a mint color base for the bear. But this is what we're looking like. I dig it. I dig it. I dig it. Yeah, so what else can you do with this? Obviously, you can change the colors. If this is not your vibe, you can definitely change the colors. If you want to only have the bear at the top, that might actually be really cool. So if you want to do like a sprinkle scoop, and then the bear, or a solid scoop, and then the bear, that might be cute too. So, I mean, I don't know. You can do with this as you please, but this thing came out absolutely adorable. I dig it. I dig it. Again, make sure you check out the video for the cone if you haven't already. Next week, we actually will be exploring a Sunday. So you wanna stay tuned for that one. Check that one out most definitely. But there's a lot going on in the world. Make sure you stay safe. Make sure you stay up on the information to keep you and your family safe. Crochet some cool stuff and meet me back here next week so we can make that ice cream sundae. All right, bye guys.